want to make sure when y'all go back into camp, when coach say, okay, we got to run, we got to sprint, y'all say, well, coach, this, not to him, but y'all look at him and say, this kind of easy based off what I done been through in 2 days, you know, so that's kind of how we like, kind of what my mentality is about training. Every year when the season ends, I probably give myself 2 weeks, probably give myself a good 2 weeks to really just let my body kind of just heal if I'm dealing with an injury, if I'm dealing with anything. I give myself like 2 weeks, but I never really stop cardio. I never stop cardio and I never stop abs, because that's the #1 thing that I think you should do for the rest of your life, period, because it just takes care of you. Forget sports. It just takes care of who you are. So I never stopped that. And then the trick of my off season was I never came back the next year and done the same thing. So I was always doing something different, you know, and that's kind of how I started this conversation off, saying, don't just be a football player. Be a man who has different lifestyles, who can get on the bike and ride a bike. Like, how many can swim in here, like real good? That's awesome, because I couldn't swim for years, probably still can't. But yeah, but yeah, so it's all these different workouts that you have to kind of incorporate based off what you need. But every year should be something different to challenge yourself differently. Because you come back doing the same thing, you're gonna get the same results. You see? So every year I did something different. And that's why I think kept me excited. That's what kept me excited about the game. Because I was like, okay, boom, I'm trying something new now. You know, I move into this, I move into that. And I'm like, wow. But so it kept you fresh in your mind. And so it just wasn't about, oh man, I got to go back to football practice. I got to do the same old drills. I got to learn this. You know, even when you're training by yourself, it's like, oh man, I got to go. Nah, it's just always be diverse, man. Always have other things in your plan. And see, like y'all penning the pad, I got pads since my rookie year, because I wrote everything down. Every workout I've ever done, I wrote down, because then I can see what worked, what didn't work, what I don't want to do no more, what I won't go back to, you know, and so you can follow it. You can follow it that way. Everybody deals with life different, right? But I took pain, and as you guys heard me today, I use the word pain a lot, right? And I took pain, and maybe I didn't use it totally right, but I used it for me, because I had a deep pain inside of myself that I wanted to be great. Now I want everybody to hear me clearly, because I didn't have my father, you know. So I didn't know who my father was. I didn't even have my father's name. I still don't have my father's name. You see, I walk in a friend's name because of my pain that me and my mom went through. So every day I would come home, and that's some of the things I'm sharing with you guys. I would come home, man, and I didn't have 3 meals. I didn't even have 1 meal. So my mom would look at me sometimes and say, Junior, I can't feed you tonight. I got to feed your sisters. So that's when, now I'm showing you something, because you talked about something earlier. So I would take a deck of cards, and I would just flip the card. And if it showed a 6, I'd do 6 push-ups. If it showed a jack, queen, or king, I'd do 10. If it showed an ace, I'd do 25. If it showed a joker, I'd do 50. And I would do those until I passed out, because I was so pissed off, and I was so angry. And I was dealing with so much pain, young man, that it started to bother me in ways that I was like, you know what? I don't care what happened. I'm going to be great one day. My name going to be great one day. I don't care what nobody says to me. I'm going to make it. You know, and because it was my odds were stacked against me, you know. And so my mom, you know, she had to send me to a couple of other people in the family, because she couldn't afford me anymore, and all of that. So I was forced into a mode of work ethic and my relationship with God. So my relationship with God came very early at 9 years old, the first time I actually heard God's voice. And from there, I never went away from his voice. But more importantly, he gave me something to trust in, which was a work ethic and his spirit. And from there, then I read the scripture. I started praying. I became a junior deacon at 11 years old. And I started praying, and that's when I ran into the scripture that said, it's better to have a great name than all of the riches in the world. And I said, you know what? Even though my daddy wasn't there, even though everybody has counted me out or whatever, my name one day will be great. And that pushed me, and that pushed me, and that pushed me, and that pushed me. And so anytime I felt pain, I made pain my friend. So when I started hurting, I would smile. And that's why I was telling my big man Well, my big baby in the back, he's somewhere here. But I was telling him today, like when you grunt, when you use that for energy. Keep that inside. Use that. You know, don't throw that away. Don't just give it to the universe, because the universe can't do nothing with it. You know, when you're going through that mode to where it's hurting, breathe. Breathe and smile, man, because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow from it. So when you talk about chasing greatness, I just stack day on top of day on top of day, hour on top of hour, seconds on top of seconds, pain on top of pain, workout on top of workout, and I just never stop. But I did it through pain. I don't tell everybody to do that through pain, because that's a lonely state, you know, and I stayed stuck in that lonely state for a long time. I was very bitter with my father for a long time, which now my father is my best friend, because I went back and got my father at 33 years old. So you see, but that's what I went through, and that's what made me really just chase greatness. I didn't end up at UM by choice. So this is kind of what you're saying. You know, I was messing around on my SAT, hadn't passed it yet, blah, 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 blah. And I got to a point to where I just locked in and I settled in, but I didn't have a scholarship. You know, so I walked into the Florida State, long story short. Chuck Amato, who became NC State head coach for a long time, Derrick Brooks was playing at the time. He looked at me and basically said, look, we love you. We want you to come to Florida State. I'm like, okay, wow, I'd love to come to Florida State, you know, make it out of the hood. You know how it is out of the hood, you got to get out of the hood. You know, so I'm like, I would love to come to Florida State, you know, and he told me, he was like, you know, but, you know, you're kind of small, you know, so we want to give you 2 years to develop, put some weight on you, and by your junior year, you'll be ready to play. And I basically just stood up and shook his hand, and I said, thank you, but no thank you. I said, how you know I'm not better than Derrick Brooks right now? So I shook his hand, I walked out. Man, I got back to campus, my coach lost it. He was like, you done threw away your career, da-da-da-da-da. And didn't realize that, and this is something very important to stick with the rest of your life. I don't care when you step on your football field or your practice field, somebody is always watching you. You don't never know who it is, but somebody is always watching you to see what makes you different. And my last high school game I played against the #1 recruit in the nation, which is Jamie German from Fort Myers at the time. And University of Miami, which was Dennis Erickson, and the offensive coordinator, which was Art Keogh, came to see their recruit because Jamie had already committed to Miami. That was my last high school game I ever played in. I lost that game. We lost that game bad, actually. But I had an incredible game. My effort, I was everywhere. And I broke down in that game and never knew what would happen from that. You see? So I had to make decisions like you're talking about, go to a lower school, had to start looking into, you know, Division II options, like, you know, okay, I ain't got no scholarship on the table. 4 days before signing day, their recruit, their linebacker, blew out his knee riding a four-wheeler. Dennis Erickson called me 4 days before signing day, and the University of Miami gave me their scholarship. And that's how I ended up in Miami. You know, so it wasn't that I was this better athlete or I had this, no, it was just that my effort and what I showed on film paid off. So I tell people all the time about your journey. You know, don't dictate your journey. Just be on the right path of your journey, because your journey gonna kind of take care of itself. You just got to be on the right path of your journey, and then if the right people see you, then things take off, and you don't even have no control over it. Right place, right time. I was probably, you know, honestly, to look back, I was probably the best athlete we had in my city, you know, for a while, and every writer would pick over me because they had this dude named Derek Gibson, who at this time was 6'4", 240 pounds. So he was the linebacker prototype on what you're supposed to look like. You know, Melvin Pearsall was another one, played for Lake Wales. He was 6'4", 240 pounds. Once again, prototype linebacker, and I'm sitting at 6 foot, you know, 180 pounds. You know, and they was like, you know, he's too small to play linebacker. You know, he's kind of caught in between of a safety / linebacker. And then when I got to the league and got into college, I weighed 205, 215 at the University of Miami for the longest. But nobody really couldn't outrun me then, you know, and not just outrun me in a straight line. I'm talking about outrun me to get to the football. But I still heard my critics. You know, all my critics was like, oh, you know, he's a great athlete, but he's just too small. You know, and then one of the people who probably I remember the rest of my life was probably Mel Kiper. Because Mel Kiper told on national TV, he betted somebody that I would never make it in this league, in the National Football League, on national TV. So, when I met him as a person, I asked him a question. I said, it's amazing that you will judge an athlete that you've never met. Because you're only judging me from my size, but you forgot to ask me what my heart was like. And those type of interactions, man, is what motivated me the rest of my life. You see, because I heard people talk about what I couldn't do, and I was too small and I could never play in this league. And every article that I ever heard somebody say, I never forgot it. I used to post them before I started treating negativity a totally different way. Because then I started to get to a point where negativity, honestly, you got to throw it away very quickly. You can't keep it around you. When people speak stupidly like that, you got to throw it out the window and keep going, because they have no effect on your real journey. So yeah, I heard a lot of criticism along my way, but who cares?